What up, guys? So in tonight's video, I'm going to show you something new you can do with your back straps. I leave the silver skin on. I leave them in whole chunks. Hopefully you do too. I know everybody loves backstrap steaks, but this is a very different way of cooking it. I am not a chef. I was a cook in a pizza shop for 9 years. That doesn't really amount to too much though. So I stole the majority of this recipe from Gordon Ramsay, and I changed it a little bit to make it a little more curtailed to the way I like to cook. So first things you're going to want to do is get that silver skin off. Pretty easy to do. You're going to want to find the oldest, most marked up cutting board you possibly can. I promise it'll add to the flavor. And then go buy a $100+ knife, definitely needed. And then make sure you or a family member uses it to break apart turkey bones and bend the hell out of the blade. Also adds to the flavor. The way I pull off the silver skin, I just come to the very top, grab it with my nails, and start cutting towards the silver skin. I want to leave as much of the meat on the meat because it's meat. We can eat that. It is tasty. The sharper your knife is, the better it works. And once you get down to where you're just against that silver skin, use the sharpness of your blade to dig towards the silver skin. And you're pretty much just going to push the meat off it. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm mostly just trying to get the things that aren't going to chew up well. So the real thick stuff. When you get sections like this, if you have a whining dog behind you, it makes perfect time to cut off the thickest part and give him a little treat. There you go, boo-boo. This one, I'm just going to take this one piece of silver skin off. And elbow the camera because I'm graceful. And feed it to the dog. Okay, so now you got your meat prepped for the most part. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. This extra fat and stuff will just give you a little bit more of that gamey flavor, which if you're eating venison and you're complaining about gamey flavor, you should probably just grow up. We're going to start seasoning it, and we're going to do it quite simply. We're going to use a very liberal amount of pepper, decent amount of salt. I'm not huge on salty flavors, so I don't go crazy with it. Plus, we're going to have more than enough salty flavor from the ham we're going to be putting in with it. Also going to use some paprika. I don't know why. Oh, yep, there's the dog. So once you have your meat seasoned and your pan really hot, you're going to want to just brown this meat. You don't want to cook it all the way through, so you want to get a nice hot pan, and it's going to go quick. So it's best to have some way to take it out of the pan that's readily accessible. I don't have that, so we're just going to burn the hell out of my hand. And that's okay. Like I said, you're not cooking it long. You're just burning yourself. You're just basically trying to get that color to give a little bit more of a flavor depth once you start cooking it. Yeah, now we take that plate that's gone forever. And just throw it right on the plate. Let it cool. Do the same thing with your other piece. Okay, so as soon as you take it off the heat, you're going to want to grab horseradish mustard. And you're just going to give it a nice little squirty squirt. Now, if you're smart and plan ahead, you can totally use a spoon and rub it around. And just spread it all over it. You're going to want a nice thin layer, not too much.
Okay.
Okay, so next, you're going to want to cut up some mushrooms. I prefer portobello. Thick, robust flavor to it. Okay, so now that we're getting towards the end of our mushrooms, which we're probably going to end up doing more, we're also going to throw our chestnuts in. And I like to use about half the amount of chestnuts to the amount of mushrooms. Is it overkill? Absolutely.
Lid. Switch the lid around.
But I like that nice earthy flavor the chestnuts give. So now we've got our chestnuts and mushroom blended all nice enough. Now we're going to take the time to spice it a little bit. Just a little bit of garlic, because anytime you cook venison, garlic needs to be involved. A little bit of onion powder. Probably overkill, but I enjoy it. A little bit of nutmeg. A bit more pepper. I would use a pepper grinder, but that's for my girlfriend's Christmas present, and we're not opening that yet. So, a teeny bit of salt. Very small amount. Or no salt at all. Whichever you choose. And we're also going to grab some fresh thyme. Say about 3 of the little stalks, branches, sticks, twigs. Yeah, whatever redneck word you use to describe it, that's how you do it. You're going to want to grab a little bit of whiskey or bourbon. This is actually a Canadian whiskey. Just a little splashy splash in there and mix it all up. So in the same pan that I just seared the venison in, I'm going to empty out like almost all of the oil. I don't want this to have a bunch of oil in it. That will actually hinder you quite a bit. But I do want the flavor from cooking the venison the first time. So empty out the pan and throw your mushrooms in there. Now you're just going to want to cook these mushrooms. Let the chestnuts and the mushrooms and the seasonings that we just put in all blend together and dry out a little bit. You definitely want to get that water out of those mushrooms. It's realistically the majority of why we're doing this, because we want to get the water out of the mushrooms. So we're just going to cook them until that water starts to evaporate out and you start to get some nice dry mushrooms. So now that the mushrooms have cooled down enough where you can touch them without burning yourself completely, I'm just going to throw a thin little layer of those mushrooms right on this. We actually use pancetta because that's what we could find. Side effects of living in the middle of a nowhere town. You gotta work with what you can find. So you want to stay a little bit in from the sides, inch to a half inch. And just throw those mushrooms right on there. Next, you're going to grab your piece of meat, because this is the smaller one. I'm going to go with the smaller piece of meat. There. And you just use this cling wrap Which is another thing that I saw by watching Gordon Ramsay do this. You just roll it over. Use the cling wrap to your advantage. If you fail a little bit, well, that's part of life. I fail all the time. I'm a master at failing. Okay. Just get rolled into a nice little cylinder. Tuck in the ends. And give it a spin. As he points out, the tighter the spin, the more perfect the shape, the more evenly it's going to cook. Does something up here smell good? Do you think this is yours?
Mm-hmm.
So now this is head time. Got mostly set up. I did it in the freezer, so it was maybe 5 minutes. We're just going to take one of these puff pastry sheets. And we're going to do that same trick with the cling wrap. And use the cling wrap to wrap it up. I'm going to cut off the excess on the edges. Make sure you cut into the side of it on accident. That helps. We're just gonna wrap it up tight again. Again, you want that cylinder shape so that way it almost looks like a summer sausage, because then when we cook it, it'll all cook even. Then you go around the dog, toss it back into the freezer for a while. Just had some time in the freezer to set up a little bit. I'm just gonna take it back out of its cling wrap, plop it down gently. We'll pretend like it's sealed all the way on this one. So normally you would brush some egg yolk on. I don't have a brush, so we're gonna spill some egg yolk on. We're gonna use, oh, look at that, the old finger brush. And we're just gonna go right to her. Can't be scared of getting a little dirty when you're cooking, as long as you wash your hands after. Now we got this nicely yolked. Normally some coarser grain salt would be better for this, but it is what it is. You can give it a fairly liberal amount of salt on top. Now we're going to toss it in a 400-degree oven. Alright, well, it's been about 25 minutes. So we can pull it out. So you've got that nice crispy brown crust. Yes, yeah, so that one's reading at about 130, which is right about where me and the puppy are going to want it. We got her smaller one.
Turn the back over and look at that beautiful colour.
At about 150-ish, 145 to 150. Just about where she's going to want it. If you guys like this video, please do me a favor, hit that like button, leave a comment. Let me know if there's anything else you want to see me cook, whether it be turkey, duck, muskrat, beaver, pretty much any animal you can think of that I've harvested this year. I will show you a recipe that I use for them. Thanks for watching. Peace.